Hey everybody, and welcome back to episode 10. So what I did was I rebuilt everything up top here. I took down the hub and the MAM and all that fun stuff, and I rebuilt it up top here. Then my plan was to finish off the factory, basically. Put up lights, put up street lights. In doing all of that, I wasn't going to record it all. The basic plan was to show you my spacing as far as how far the lights are away, how I use, like a central location and then go either way with the lights. I keep this on a separate circuit as well, so the lights aren't on the same power. I know I can run a light switch and run all of the lights that are on a circuit, but I like to keep it a separate circuit totally. That way I can basically have a light switch to it and turn all the lights off, because to me, lights are not essential. I use kind of a just spacing, leave two spaces, put down a light, leave two spaces, put down a light, and then side to side or whatever, it's one space in between. It's a fairly simple system. It's not going to stay that way. It's not written in stone. You'll notice when I go around pillars and whatnot that I change my thinking. And when I put up structures down here, a lot of times if I need to run ceiling conveyor poles and whatnot, I change where the lights are. The lights aren't... I mean, they're nice. I've played this without lights, and it was bogus, especially on these large builds. That was back in the day. But in between me running back and forth, I ended up gathering a bunch of stuff. And so I figured I'd just condense it. Now, I did record everything, but I really didn't foresee me putting up... I think it comes out to about 500 lights. And I kept coming back and redoing the hard drive. You just press the X in the upper right-hand corner of the little 3 panel. That way I got my screw recipe. That screw recipe is extremely important. As far as going after stuff in the MAM here, I just went after what I could. As I built things, as I got the commodities and the parts and the pieces necessary to gather these, then I would research it. I didn't strive any one direction that had to be done or that this had to be that. I might have went after this power switch. I might have, but not very much. If I could grab an inventory and it wasn't that hard, I grabbed it, of course. This encompasses probably 16 hours of me putting up, I think I'm over 500 lights. And I don't want to hazard a guess as to how many street lights are down there. I think that comes into about the 200 range. So powering all that up, getting it all done, making sure I kept the circuit separate. Yeah, that was a little rough. And I didn't want to show it. So in between all of this, of course, I did all this research because I was running around getting stuff done. And of course, I got all my milestones and I got all my research done in the hub. So now I'm completed phase 2. I'm done tier 3, done tier 4.
As well as the construction of outposts.
I haven't laid any hyper tubes down yet.
Stations have built-in functionality to
I believe I explain when I come back tomorrow, which is the rest of this video. I believe I explained it's just too much of an expense. I had certain things I wanted to get done. And although this has been probably a weird build for some people as to how I'm doing this, there is method to my madness. There is a reason for me doing it. I don't want to spoil it, so keep watching. I've had a couple of comments in the comments section questioning the whys and wherefores, and not really understanding why I'm doing the splitting process and whatnot. It will be, I was hoping it would be in this episode. I really was. I was trying to make it there, but it's not going to happen. There's just too much to do. There's too much to set up,
Fixit
too much to
Incorporated
do.
is not responsible for any harm
I have
caused
a
by irresponsible use
big,
of this
huge
product.
mess coming out of one of my resource corridors. These things. So I have 3 of them. I'm going to have 3 of these running. 1 north, 1 south, and 1 east. I'm not going west with it. No point. But these run 8 belts apiece. So in total, I'm going to have 24 belts of resources coming in. Sometimes you have to turn them. In order to turn them, I'm going to have to show how you make round buildings. That'll be later on. But you basically press the control key and you use your mouse wheel and you twist the foundation. To build back, because it's really hard to get the ceiling and the base to mesh together, you build up your walls and then you work backwards towards it, like this. And so it works out better. Anytime you make a stairway off of this, I strongly suggest you leave a space like that. And then when I'm going to have, say, lines running into this, I always build a base down below so that I can run basically the stackable conveyor pole on top of these little foundational bases. It works out for me. I get rid of the foundations that I use to get down here to make it, I don't know, so that it meshes. It just makes it look good. The holes up there at an angle are done up with all the angled wall pieces and whatnot. And yeah, then, like I said, I mean, I just run 3 stackable conveyor poles and I run my commodities into it. I know I'm going to have 3 mines here, so. And then at the end, it was the 2 crystal mines. And then at the end, once again, I'll take up the 1 foundation. And I think in this case, yeah, I put a ramp down. Okay, and eventually I do fill in that space there, so it just looks good. Aesthetically, you don't need it. And then this runs all the way down. The furthest away is always at the top. So you figure out where your furthest mines are. They're going to be on top. Then when I came back the next day, I've done a little bit of work. I put up the blueprint maker. Surrounded it in some poles. I don't have the wings yet, but that's waiting for it. I made up a bunch of recipes. It's all of the splitters. So all the way up to a 9x9. 9 in, 9 out. And I do believe I even did a 10x10. So I'm already that way. I got some smelter setups and I'm just kind of some preliminary stuff. And that's all I've done so far as blueprinting. I moved the biofuel power station up top. I touched up against, I used to have 900 and I now have 1800 because I set up another section of power plants out by the power plant area. I put up large power poles so that I can get out there. I still have this bottom section, but it's slowly but surely getting moved upstairs. I've got all my lights are in. Now I don't have the street lights up on this section because I don't spend much time here. In a vehicle. You'll notice that I got some lights going up and down my ramp for driving up and down because that I want lit up. This doesn't get driven in too often, but this lower section does. And so I've got traffic lights or street lights, whatever you know, all the way around. I have it all set on I should have showed you this. I have 2 circuits running right now in the main building. Or 2 fuses, I guess. 2 circuits. I call it circuits. The 1 circuit is just right off the main feed. Okay, and as that wire comes in from the large transmission towers, I'm going to put a switch on it. But this is what the switch looks like. So what I've done is I've brought in from the main power, right, and then I've put it into this, and then it goes into that insulator, and then goes downstairs. This is just night mode. Regular intensity, white light, no big deal, light mode. And that hooks up to all the lights. So in the daytime, they shut off. I could use them in the middle of this, but until I set up the walls and everything else and block the place in. And commonly I use glass on my walls when I put them in and whatnot anyway, so I don't usually have a problem seeing down here in the daytime. This level gets a lot of action. Okay, so this does. Oh, by the way, I got my my Blade Runners, so I'm moving a lot better. So when I bring stuff in, I've already shown you this. This is in the process of getting built. I didn't want to complete it because then you folks don't get to see it. But I tapped the crystal mines that are way, way out there, and I've got a whole lot of mines yet to tap. But as it's coming in, it comes in double stacked. I still use the power line along the top so I can travel along it very quickly. Comes in to my resource level, the bottom. I use a lot of ceiling poles, stackables. I did a lot of this off camera, and I didn't want to tape it all and do it, like I said, block by block. This I needed to do. I needed to get this done because I needed the, the labels for the signs. And, I mean, I don't need it quite yet, the silica, but I needed it for stuff in the research. So I just put down, I'm bringing in 4 lines because it's eventually what's going to happen. And then those 4 go through a splitter series. Now I put 1 extra. Didn't need it, but I put 1 extra just because. And then they're going to slowly get backed up as they create and make. My reasoning for wanting to split everything and have everything all done, do my math all up, is because this is going to turn into a smart splitter one day when I have them. And then these get filled as, you know, basically inventory waiting to use it in the actual factory, and everything else gets dumped into a sink. I've sparingly been using my coupons for exactly what I need them for, like lights and you know, just stuff. But as I progress, I'll be using basically a sink on everything. What happens there is everything after the storage goes into the factory to be used. And I know how much I'm creating. On each and every build, I usually will put a signage, which is why I needed this place, because I needed to be able to make the signage. Right now my supply is 480 because I only got 2 mines at 120, and my need is 600. So you'll see the not enough, right? So in other words, I'm not bringing in enough. And I know I'm not, so no big deal. I only tapped 2 mines so far. There's more around. But it's 375 crystals in and 225 of the, the quartz crystal out. And then 225 of the raw crystal in and 375 of the silica out. So I can just by a glance know. Now I have a spreadsheet as well, which is basically a floor plan blueprint of what I'm going to do with this place. And you'll notice that this pretty much sits inside one of my quadrants. Right, pretty much. I mean, it doesn't take up the whole space, but it pretty much takes it up. That was by design. So each place has its own, you know, quadrant section, and then upstairs, on my logistics level, you'll notice that I just have them sitting here for now. The plan is to. This is my mall that I was describing earlier. This is the bottom side of it. And so I will, on the front end of things, all right, here's the back end. It's in production. I label what I'm going to do and what I'm going to put. And this is what it looks like. Not everything has stuff in it, right? Because like heavy modular frames, I'm not even making them yet. And then some of them aren't even listed yet. And I organize it the way I wish, how I'm going to pretty much remember. This is, if you haven't seen the previous, this is where the train comes in. Okay. And so when the builder train is sitting here, I can run back and forth between my mall and load up the builder train and get that basically all done. And no, I don't have my coffee cup yet. This is why I'm sitting here with my zipline tool. The whatchamacallit hub, hypertubes. I did buy a couple of things, but more often than not, this is what ends up being, and then each one of them gets a sign, and then when I get them, I put glass walls here, so that when you're coming out of the tube, a lot of people will put their tubes on the ground, okay, because then you don't travel as far. My problem with that, and the only reason I don't, is because then a lot of times when you put the sign in as low as you possibly can, because you can't, you hit the sign coming out. So what I started doing is putting them up one. Then you have to kind of jump at it. They're not hooked up. I ain't got nothing's happening yet. But this way you can put a sign in front of your hypertube, which tells you where you're going, like where that hypertube goes. I don't know whether that's the... Yeah, I guess that is. So this way you can sign up, all of your hypertubes as to where they're going. I put a half section in here, and then I usually end up flying right into this piece, which it doesn't bother it too much. But you can put a glass halfway, and although it clips, it's the clear glass, and I don't know, it works for me. This side's going to get, I think, one more pillar with one more switch on it, right in the middle. I don't really need to get to these anymore. They haven't chewed anything in quite a while. I leave them up for emergency. You don't need to put them on standby. You don't need to do nothing. Just come by and check. They don't chew through any biofuel. You'll notice that the fuel has stopped. So they don't chew through anything while there's enough power. And you'll notice my max consumption, I'm always talking about power throughout all of my shows. Max consumption's down at 1624, production's at 1800. The capacity is, if you were to include all the biofuel generators, so it's 460 from biofuel generators. So, yeah, big long line of them. I still do my biofuel generation here, same thing. I put all of it. I did add mycelia into it, but I commonly don't use mycelia. But all that happens right in behind here. Blueprint, yeah, the standard blueprint thing. I put up these beside it. And then I will go across with the beams when I get them. I probably did but I wanted to get up there, do it properly. This is kind of roughed in. It's not finished. I do that so that you can fly around this thing. Because it doesn't hold, the blueprint generator does not hold its own power. Although it's got a cable running in there, like it doesn't hold its own power. So when you got the wings later on, yeah, you run out of power when you're way up top doing something really tall. Road, just to go downstairs when I eventually get vehicles and all that fun stuff. The logistics level, like I said, not too many traffic lights on not too many road lights or whatever you want to call them. They have a name. A street light. I'm new to the transmission towers. I like them. I'm really glad the devs put them in. I'm going to quickly run out to the power station because I changed it. So as you can see, I added an entire new bank to the... Now this will only change one more time, and the only change I'm going to make is that I don't need, when I get to MK2 pipes, there is a change that happens. Right now I'm running 6 water pumps. I'm still running, I changed the mines, or the miners, to MK2s. Okay, but you'll see that I'm still running pretty short on these 2 lines, which are both 60. Let me get on top of this. But yet the other one, they're pretty solid. You know what I mean? They're doing pretty good. The other 2 mines out there are a normal and a pure out there. Now I have overclocking, but I have not overclocked anything. I'm thinking of doing the 2, but I don't normally do impures because I just don't find them worth it. I would do the pure, but I'm already running at 240. Once again, I put up signs. So I'm running 480 in, and I'm only consuming 360 because it's 24 power stations at 15 per. That's why the system is running just fine. Oops. So when you look at the evener system coming in, okay, like I said, one is at 240, the other one's at 120, and then those two are at 60 each. You can tell that by the sign down there. But you'll notice that the lines are all full coming out of the splitter, out of the balancer. Okay, everything's all nice and full. That was the purpose and the reason. And in this show, I'm going to do up my smelting for the iron, which means, and I might skip me going and getting the iron mines because it's, I mean, come on, everybody, it's just plunking down a miner and running a bunch of belts. Okay, but I'll show you how I put it into the way I do it. But this is a 4-line out section because the top two aren't being used yet on this side. That's for future. That's for the next two. But in order for me to run those ones, okay, I would need to overclock. I would need to do something with the incoming mines because I'm running 480 in right now, 60, 60, 120, 240, and I'm consuming 360. So I have to make sure that my consumption doesn't go above my supply. Makes sense, right? Now, anybody who saw the previous, there was not space underneath here. Okay, that's just for aesthetics, by the way. But what I'm running is 3 pumps on each line, which gives me 360 psi or 360 cubic meters per second coming in. Okay, which basically means there's an overabundance. When it makes it to MK2 pipes, okay, I'm going to get rid of one of these, and then I put in a fluid buffer just to make sure that I got enough, or, and I haven't decided yet, or I just go to a water tower. And with the water tower system, you have enough pumps running to satisfy the entire area at your PSI per line, of course, okay? So I'm just able to streamline it a bit more. But this just makes it nice and neat. The top one runs, the 6 on one side. The bottom one runs 6 on the other side. I counted at 50 cubic meters per minute, not 45, but I just counted there. That way you need 300. And of course, it works out beautifully because these will only max flow rate is 300. Okay, so you're running 6. It's just, I don't know. It's the way the math works out. At 15 coal being burnt, if you go 15 times 12, you'll notice it comes out to 180. A MK3 belt, which is what I've got now, is all MK3 belts. It's able to supply it because an MK3 belt, of course, will run 270 resources. This is only chewing up 180, so it can't run out. You know what I mean? Like the belt is not going to become the bottleneck at all. And I upgraded all the lines. I didn't. Whatever, doesn't matter to me. All the lines might as well be upgraded. But that's just for now in the power station. So each set will give me 900. I don't write that down as far as the power I get, but I get 900 per 12. Per bank, if you want to call it that, like per section of this. So this is 9 and 2 is 1800, which is where I'm getting this 1800 megawatts from. It's supplying me with power for now. I commonly have skipped the rock. A little bit of clipping, I didn't mind. I'm okay with that. It didn't bug me. Not happy really, but yeah, no problem, you know what I mean? Still hooked up the power, I just did it a little bit. So the only thing really clipping is that power line, which, yeah. No, I'm not happy with it, but I'm not about to move the entire power station, you know what I mean? Like 1 or 2 spaces. I'm just not going to do it. And I like to have enough room here, whereas I can see things. Sometimes in the past I've put a catwalk to go up there, but because I'm going to be changing the water lines later on when I get MK2 water, I have in the past come back and changed it out. I have in the past not come and changed it out because really it's good. But those are the changes to the power station. As I get more power shards, I could up these and 200% them to 120 per minute, which would seriously increase the amount. But I really don't like doing impures. I just don't. To me, they're not worth it at MK2. So later on at MK3, you can overclock it from 120 to 240. The math, it sounds a little better to me. You know what I mean? Going from 120 to 240 rather than 60 to 120. It's just that, I mean, the math is always the same. Don't get me wrong there. I don't mean that the percentage changes on the different nodes. It doesn't. What changes is, I guess, the effectiveness of that percentage increase, meaning that on a pure, going from 480 to 1200 is like huge. It's still only 150%. Okay, but it's a bigger amount because you start with a bigger amount. Same thing on an impure on an MK3 miner. It's 120 to 240 or to 300 if you go max overclock. A full 250%. That's quite a bit. That's a lot of numbers. I am loving these new power poles. Seeing as how I don't run, not that I won't run the hypertubes yet, but that's a pretty big expense for this early in the game. For me, anyways, that's just my humble opinion. I have a lot of hooking up to do. I have a lot of things that I want to... Oops. And I'm noticing I'm falling off every once in a while. I don't know. I don't know whether that's a glitch or what, but I am falling off once in a while. These are... I've showed them in previous... these are where I bring in my ore and whatnot. Okay, where my miners get to work, and then I bring it in through the side wall. I go out in certain directions, and just like in other ones, I will be going out to the south as well. I'm waiting for corner pieces on this, by the way. But I will go out 3 directions from here. I don't see a point in going west. It doesn't make that much sense. Whereas from right here, I will be going out this direction. Okay, but for right now, I'm still running stuff down there. But that will incorporate these 2 mines to come in. I'm still running all this stuff because I'm still using the commodities from it. I'm still using it all until I get my iron in, which is right here. 10 in. As you run these up and in, so I'm coming in with forgot I had forgot I had my whatchamacallit, my blade runners. So this is going to start to get a lot fuller. A lot more lines coming into this. This will be full eventually. Anybody knows the desert and whatnot, how many mines are to be able to tap out this direction? There's a lot of them. So But I'm going to get to work on getting in a bunch of iron. And this is pretty much how it's done. As I come in, I run them down the way. And I've calculated where my mines are at and where I need to put these at, and then how many I can run. The top 2 are coal coming in from way beyond. And if I really need to, I can still put a level below this. I've never needed to do that, though. When you can run 8 belts on each side of this, that's 16 mines. I mean, that's a lot of stuff coming in. And actually, I can get rid of the bottom 2. That's a lot of mines coming in. There's some off on the coast that I don't use. But that's, I believe... Oh, memory serves, it's a limestone mine. So these are my 2 coal that are tapped. But it's still MK1s. I can put... I'm going to switch them up. So all I do is I run them in where they're needed. You know, single entrance, double entrance, whatever. Now, I run all of my lines inside of a walled building like this. I could run them out bare in the countryside. I actually found it was a lot less lag for me when I would, sweep past with my view an area where I had a lot of belts. Well, all of a sudden the lag would hit, but with this it doesn't. So for anybody who's wondering why I waited for most of my factory, or to build most of the factory anyways, it's because of the MK3 belts. I really am not going to build a lot when I know I'm just going to have to replace the belts. That has never made sense to me. I run on MK3s for a very, very long time. I'm not even all that worried about completing phase 2 to get to the next tiers. I got a lot of building to do yet. And I mean, commonly I try to plan ahead for what I'm going to be doing later on, so that I'm not... And I should replace those 2. It's a lot harder to work in here later on. I fully agree that it does get a little rough working inside this cramped space. But still, it's not that hard. And then when you finally get... oh, I'm out. The wings. You can fly, because I put connections inside. It's more than just zip-lining back and forth on this. I think it's way more than that. I mean, yes, it's nice, to zip-line and have that available to you. But for me, it's more about the power later on. So, my tower of boxes here, I'm going to have to show it in a different episode if you want to know how I build this and stack it up and whatnot. I'll show it, no problem. I really don't recall where I learned it or how I learned it. I don't know whether I have to give credit to somebody because I saw it or whether I just came up with it. I don't remember. But I eventually put signs in behind it. They are floating. I don't care if they're attached. I don't know. It works for me where I have a lot of storage items that come back, and I'm so used to playing with multiple different people that I almost always make a storage area. And this goes beyond the mall that's sitting off to my left, which houses all of the gear and parts and pieces and whatnot to get made in the factory. So I set this up for materials coming in case my wife does come join me every once in a while, and other people have as well. This way they can just look at the wall. Oh, okay, that's where that goes. Okay, and then they put it away rather than having to look through, search through endless amounts of boxes to find out, where you should put something or where you should have something. Even if I played by myself, even if I was a strictly solo player and nobody, I would still do this because, I'm a scatterbrain and I'm going to forget where I put stuff. So anyways, when the transportation corridor is finished, I end up writing down what's coming in off each one on each side, and it just organizes me. And then I continued to run lines. My goal here was to get enough iron ore, in order to hook this up. And what I was trying to do in this episode was make it so that you can see not just the evener system, but why I have the evener system. I don't build small. I just don't. I build big. I build one central hub. This is not how everybody plays. I get it. I do truly. I've had a couple of comments not understanding why I have to do this. I don't build small. I don't have any other way to explain it to you. I don't build small. I don't build small factories. I don't build little tiny outposts that, like, where this one takes care of this and that one takes care of that. I will do coal power stations at where the water and the coal is, because it doesn't make sense to go anywhere else. That's just logic. And I will do the nuclear in a place where it's away from everything else, because, well, you don't really want to bring nuclear stuff back here and irradiate everything. But that means everything else comes back to this main building. Everything in the game, it all comes here. There's been mention of lag and stuttering and whatnot. I don't know whether my usual large, huge factory is going to work. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know whether it's going to happen, whether it's going to work that way. I'm hoping. I mean, I haven't really suffered anything as yet from the Unreal Engine update and all the rest of that fun stuff. Other people are. I'm not. Knock on wood. I'm blessed. Okay, fine. And I have a really good system too, but I don't think it's the system. I had a conversation on the comments, and I used to think it was my system. I used to think, well, I just put together a good system. Okay, no. Obviously, people with much more power than I have are running into a problem, and I don't know. Not a computer guy. I hold my own with my own systems. I build them myself, but I'm not a computer guy. I'm not actually a tech guy, even though I might sound like one. But anyway, so for me, I have to build everything here, meaning everything comes back in the whole map board. Everything will come back to here. That doesn't mean I tap every mine on the board. No, not everything on the map gets tapped. Okay, but I grab as much as I need. This is 10 lines of iron, all at 240. I ended up condensing that impure that's way out there. I don't know, you might have noticed it. There was a 60 and a 120 downstairs on the signs. I condensed them into one at 240. I went against my cardinal rule, and I actually overclocked the impure so that it's once, so it's at 120 and 120, so I've got 240 coming out of that line. That way all of my belts are nice and equal going in at 240, and I believe that ends up going 2,400 iron ore coming into the system at later on when I reroute the one that's right beneath me right now. That's the old system where I started and the area that I started in. I grabbed those two mines as well, and I put them in here. So it ends up being 10 lines, 240, 2,400 iron ore coming in. And, well, I mean, I think I might even mention it in the next episode, because the next episode's already recorded. I did the whole thing all the way up to my smelting. And I was trying to get it all into one video for you guys. but hey, I'm just crossing 40 minutes here. I don't want to make a 2-hour video. I just don't. So I just started to begin the evener process to even out all of the iron ore, so that then it can go into the smelting process. Do I need to do this? No, I don't. Why do I do it? You'll see in the next episode. I do have method to my madness. I do have a reasoning behind why I do it. It's just something that I noticed in the game, that before I used this system, before I started doing this, I used to run individual and do all my math individually and make a whole bunch of little outposts everywhere, and like heavy industrial frames were done in a different section. My computers were done in a different area, and I had a little base for that. And then I had a base for supercomputers, and then I had a base for turbo fuel, and then I had a base blah blah blah. And that's the way but I didn't like it. I had to go far too many places to get what I wanted to get. And then when they would add things to the game, I would be running all over the place to go get stuff and do things and have stuff and all the rest of that. Well, anyway, so this is why I came up with this system. And for me, and that's a big in quotes, underline it, bold it, capitalize it, it's for me. It's for the way I do it. So, hey, you do you. This is me. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for visiting. And, if you're liking the series, smash the like button. I thank you huge. It helps the channel huge. Hit subscribe. Yeah. And leave me a comment. Let me know. Chat with me. Ask me questions. I don't mind. I know not everybody's going to agree with me. That's fine. That's perfectly okay. I'll try to explain myself the best as I can. In the next episode, I will get not only smelting, but I will get iron plates, iron rods, and screws done. And then once I get that far, then I can start branching out into the rest of the factory and start making all the other components. And yeah, well, anyways, the factory must grow.